The sea, for me, has always been a metaphor of life. I mean, the sea is a constantly evolving, changing, shifting aspect of both nature and of life. That sort of exposure to the sea is both enriching and enhancing, and it's fun.
The sea, the wind, the outdoors, it is the most renewing, healing place for him, and always has been.
Boy, that's a good job.
Yeah?
Sweated a little bit.
He loves getting out and sailing. I think he's never more at peace, and perhaps in some ways never more in touch with his family and his roots and his brothers than when he's out there sailing.
I grew up in a family that wanted to achieve in the sense of making a difference in people's lives.
I know that Ted Kennedy has always been unbelievably sensitive to the accomplishments of his brothers. They were his inspiration.
He has a legacy. He's done his very best to pick up where his two brothers left off.
Like my three brothers before me, I pick up a fallen standard, sustained by their memory of our priceless years together. I shall try to carry forward that special commitment to justice, to excellence, to courage that distinguish their lives.
He championed the cause of those who have been left out, the poor, the elderly, our children, those without education.
Was brought up to believe that, to those to whom much is given, much is required. But it's really bigger than that. He really feels a moral obligation to do everything possible to make this world a better place.
I've heard Senator Kennedy say on many occasions that health care is not a privilege. It is a right.
As long as I have a voice in the United States Senate, it's going to be for that Democratic platform plank that provides decent quality health care, north and south, east and west, for all Americans as a matter of right and not of privilege.
Because of Ted Kennedy, people have things today, they're able to do things today, they're able to reach for the American dream in ways that they never imagined.
I first met the senator at something called Children's Congress through the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. And he asked me to come to testify in front of Congress about stem cell research and the support for that. If I could help someone almost as much as Senator Kennedy's helped me, then I'd be a very happy person.
City Year has given the opportunity for the best of our young people to serve in the community.
He deeply believes that national service ought to be part of the everyday life of every single American.
He committed right away to introduce new legislation to take programs like City Year to scale, to make it possible for young people all over our country to serve our country.
He deeply believes in service. Even as a United States Senator, he's read every Tuesday at a local school in Washington, D.C. as part of an Everybody Wins program.
We were signing up for this reading program, and I was assigned to read with Senator Kennedy as my reading partner. It gave me someone to want to do well for and make proud. I'm going to Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, and I'll be majoring in education.
We're talking about a man of incredible sensitivity. He has always been there for the troops. He's always been there understanding the sacrifices that those troops made. He's been there for their families.
We met Senator Kennedy for the first time in November 2003 when we buried our son John at Arlington National Cemetery.
Their son was lost because his Humvee was not up-armored, and they've really dedicated their lives to making sure that other young men and women don't suffer the same fate.
John died just after his 20th birthday. Senator Kennedy agreed to call hearings. Within 6 months of those hearings, all troops in Iraq had body armor. And to that, I owe the senator.
Brian and his wife, Alma, turned that enormous personal tragedy into a remarkable force for change.
Senator Kennedy had been a Gold Star family before I was born. He remembers where his mother was, where his father was, when they came to tell him his brother Joseph was killed. We share a wound that doesn't heal, and a deep and abiding love for this country. And Senator Kennedy taught me that government can function for the common man.
His patriotism, his family, his faith, really, those three things are just intrinsic to who he is. You know, I think of him as this guy who's got really, really big shoulders, and he's strong for all of us, and he's funny, and he sort of leads the way. He's the Pied Piper in our family.
How many sails are up?
Well, let's count them. What do we call the one that's way, way, way up at the tipping point?
Oh, that? The halyard, isn't it? Oh, no, the fisherman?
Fisherman!
Don't tell me you want to put the fisherman on the other side now, Dad.
In spite of all of the changes, in spite of all of the progress, Senator Kennedy would tell us that we still have a great distance to go.
In the year I was born, President Kennedy let out word that the torch had been passed to a new generation of Americans. He was right, it had. It was passed to his youngest brother. From the battles of the 1960s to the battles of today, he has carried that torch, lighting the way for all who share his American ideals.
This moment is the moment for us to get health care done. And Ted Kennedy wants to be leading the charge where he ought to be, the head of that committee, making sure that he's working with President Obama to get health care for all Americans.
We'll break the old gridlock and finally make health care what it should be in America, a fundamental right for all, not just an expensive privilege for the few.
I see the day when President Barack Obama and Ted Kennedy will be moving progressive legislation through the Congress to help some of the most vulnerable people in our society.
The people in this country are going to respond in a hopeful and positive way. It's going to be a very, very dramatic and important alteration and change, and it's one that I'm looking forward to being part of.
My friends, I ask you to join in this historic journey, to have the courage to choose change. It's time again for a new generation of leadership. It is time now for Barack Obama.
Let's curl over here, guys.
We're all set now.